Oh my gosh, the floor is so uneven. There's no way to get layout straight. This is what happens underneath my tent. That's where it was. It looks like rain and snow for the next 3 or 4 days. It's about 11 o'clock. The wind's really picked up. The 1970s, so we didn't start using metal poles to the 90s. I've often wondered, if Dick hadn't died, let's say it was Olas that died, right? What would this place have become? That ability to feel that here exists because of the Wilderness Act and because of the refuge and the seriousness which the refuge managers take that responsibility. I think I should just sell the plane, buy a condo on the beach, go snorkeling the rest of my life. And then I'm on the ground like, woohoo, time to do science. They can't afford an unexpected $500 auto bill or medical bill. Right? Half the people in the country, I just don't know what they are. They're like genes. They just replicate when they can. What makes us feel good about ourselves and about our place in the world is day 4. Not as windy last night. That was nice. But oh my gosh, the floor is so uneven. There's no way to get layout straight. But made it through the night. Science is done. A little bit of cleanup here and there. And packing, sorting and packing, getting ready to go. I haven't looked outside yet or checked the weather. So not sure if I'm leaving yet today or not. Oh, still trying to get my body to respond to straighten it out. But the sun will be up soon, so time to get a move on. Just went out and checked on the airplane anchors, reset them a little bit, fired up the Starlink, checked the weather because it's looking a little gloomier today. It does not look good. Looks like it might rain a little bit this afternoon or probably this morning, and the wind's going to pick up again. Fortunately, the wind's going to die down. Looks like tomorrow or by this evening maybe. But just looking at it now. But then it looks like rain and snow for the next 3 or 4 days. Wednesday, today's Thursday, next Wednesday, so 6 days from now, looks like the first really good day. It may be possible to sneak out beforehand, but it's really hard to pack anything in the rain without getting everything soaked. And if it's raining, ice surface gets super slick, and then you get, ice frozen onto the wings. It gets to be a real mess. Anyway, we'll just have to see how it goes. I got to reset this tent. This is the one place in the whole tent that I can almost sit up straight. And now I'm starting to risk tearing it with the tension. I also want to anchor the plane better. So I'm probably not going to leave today. So it's going to be a busy morning trying to get things ready before it rains and blows harder. And then settling in, hunkering down for 4 or 5 days. We'll see. It's about 9 o'clock. Hasn't started raining yet, but kind of looks like it's about to. So I focused on moving the tent, getting the plane secure, kind of mucking out the tent. Anything I could put in the airplane, I put in the airplane, get it ready to go, more or less in the right place. Packed the tent, stuff inside the tent up, more or less where it goes. I don't think I'm getting out of here today, but just in case. But I thought I'd show what this is what happens underneath my tent. That's where it was. So what's happening is that was roughly the surface when I got here, and we've had this much melt in between. You can see that the river that once went under my tent goes around it because now the tent's higher. So I've moved it over, and I did some surgery with that ice axe to try and route the rivers around the tent so that by this afternoon or tomorrow, the tent will again be higher enough that these rivers will go around. So yeah, every 3 to 4 days, I have to move the tent. Hopefully, I won't have to move it before before I leave, but who knows. We tend to take most of our photos when it's clear sky, you know, but I think the overcast adds something. It's a bit of an HDR image, you know. There's not as much contrast, not as much global contrast, but more local contrast. You know, no deep shadows, but you can really see that ice sticking out now and what's left. But you remember when we first got here, there was like this whitish surface. It had just snowed, and that maybe 2 days before. And so it made this really perfect, crunchy 2 or 3 centimeter, or maybe an inch or two surface. Just nice, crunchy to walk on. You didn't even need the crampons. Taxing on it was no problem. Now it's just super slick. And once it starts raining and freezing on there, man, it's a water slide. So I gotta have some breakfast because I'm starving. But once I do that, I'm gonna go try and make some more secure anchors for the airplane, because today should be the last day of strong wind. But even without wind, with this slick of surface, it wouldn't take much to get it going. So we want to do what we can to help out. That's topographic. That little notch there. That's why this weather station is here. We can see topographic directly in line of sight for radio. But I don't know, one of these years I gotta relocate this station. I'm gonna build, now that the down glacier stations are all just need to come up and be flown out or reconfigured or recycled for new things. I want to build another 20-year weather station kind of past the plane on the flat spot there, and have that be the main weather station. So if one main glacier station and the camp station, so those two, each with their own redundancies, be the long-term vision here. And then this one and that other one I fixed up last night, they'll last for as long as they last, and then take them down too. It's nice to have some overlap between stations. You get the sense of, you know, how different the data are. They're different elevations, so that changes the things. There are different wind regimes. The wind plays a strong role in mixing warm air and cold air together. So have a year or two overlap would be nice. So I keep saying this every year, but hopefully next year I get some serious funding together for logistics and be able to fly in a bunch of good weather station stuff and fly out a bunch of debris I'm going to keep in here and haul the stuff up from lower down, or forget to look on it. Yeah, it's always a multi-year process here. Can you do? Try our best. About 11 o'clock, the wind's really picked up. So I'm here at the plane. The steam drill going, it was a real chore. I had to create this tarp, and then I couldn't even get stormproof matches. Like here, I had to dip and step matches into the gas tank. Light them as much of a shadow as I could from the wind, and then jam it into the steam drill. But I've got the holes drilled now. I'm about to drop the anchors in. It's not going to work like I thought or hoped, but I think it'll work out. So what I have are these guys. Meant for driving in with a piece of rebar into soil, and then this thing toggles. You see how this? But I can't get it to toggle in the holes. What I'm doing is I'm just dropping it in. I drilled a hole that's, well, I drilled it a little deeper than that. Let's get that. So that's how much is sticking out. So what I'm gonna hope is that it's gonna freeze back. So it won't be an anchor I can use right now, but tonight or tomorrow morning maybe it will be, which is better than nothing. Jesus, it's super slick around here. So the other thing I have is this piece of chain. And this is going to be a little bit of a challenge here. So I drilled a 2-meter hole because the chain is equally heavy. I already tried it in the hole. I can't feel when it's hitting the bottom because, you know, like with the thermistor string, I could had that big lead weight on it and I could tap it on the bottom and see what it was doing. So here, 2-meter hole, this is about 2 meters height in my hand, and trying to get it in the hole. There we go. So I'm just going to lower it in. And then, so I've got it kind of tied off to here. So remember, when I put that first thermistor string in, I had to bail that night at 7 meters. I came back the next day, it was frozen at 1.5 meters. So that means the ice, at least at 1.5 meters depth, is water that's in that hole. So this chain goes down below 1.5 meters and then 2 meters. So 0.5 meter that chain gets frozen in. That anchor will be stronger than the airplane is. The airplane. So I'm hoping that I got duck bills on both sides for the main gear, and I've got this chain. So we'll just have to see by tonight or tomorrow. But for now, I've got the snow machine tied off and 2 anchors on the tail. A little bit of the issue with the snow machine is it's so slick. Like one of the issues is the skis shade the ice, right? So they're creating their own pedestals. So the plane wants to slide off its pedestals. So I was steam drilling. The whole plane shifted over like 3 inches. Knocked me off balance. Wake you right up. Fortunately, all the anchors I reset the anchors this morning. They're all holding. It's not going to go anywhere right now, but yeah, these breezes come up 40 miles an hour, knock you off balance, and definitely shake the plane. So I'm eager to get more anchorage in, especially because it's so slick. I mean, I got my crampons on, those wire crampons, and I'm having trouble keeping my footing. And I think with this rain, that's the other issue. We've had sprinkles of rain this morning. Whether to put the wing covers on or not. In a wind like this, I don't think it's worth it. You end up babysitting the wing covers more than they help protect the plane. But on the other hand, you don't want to get water that turns to ice on your wings either. So the wind's supposed to die down tonight, so I'm gonna wait till then to put the wing covers on it. I'm supposed to get a couple days of rain and snow after that. So hopefully by then it'll be tied down, well covered over. And, I guess it's time to do some reading in the tent, play some solitaire. So, after getting the plane sorted, or at least the holes drilled and the anchors in place and steam drill put away, I decided to go for a little walk, scope out a better landing place in the future, and to site my my next weather station. So it was a long-term weather station. Nope. Let's see. I don't know if you can see the plane. That's just out of view over there. It's a lot flatter here, less incline for planes slipping away. The incline helps with taking off and landing to a certain degree. Anyway, I like this area because it gets a lot of sun. It's centrally located. There's plenty of places to land. I think it's going to be a really good spot for a weather station. So as I was walking around, I came across this, this is a wooden pole from the 1970s. So we didn't start using metal poles to the 90s. And I say we, I wasn't here in the 90s, but the royal we. And you can still see the electric tape around the pole. There used to be a marker in between those tape that's long since gone away. But the tape, the wood's been weathered, right? but the tape keeps that weathering happening, so it's more, if you can see the profile there, it's thicker there. And this stake wasn't just a survey stake, it was one of the thermistor strings from the 70s, the original ones that Dennis put in. And over here, so remember, this is what I did yesterday and the day before. I put in thermistor strings. They put them all down glacier and a bunch up glacier, and they discovered that the ones up glacier where I am now were kind of worthless because of this firn heating, this refreezing of meltwater, release of latent heat, the thing that makes the glacier warm, what makes it polythermal. So they never really did much for these data. It was only the ones in the ablation area. But now, obviously, at the time, right, this was all snow. This was accumulation, 70s, right? This whole huge area. So there's our camp that we were up the other day, Upper Cirque, Lower Cirque. This was the accumulation area. The snow would not have melted here in summer. And now it's bare ice, right? One of the things if you remember that, I had a little lead fishing weight that I put at the bottom of that string to sink it. Here's what they use, a bolt. Come back for all that. Yeah. I mean, as much as I'm not out here in summer as much as I used to be, so it's hard. In winter, you can't find anything, but as much as we clean stuff up, the glacier just keeps producing more. At some point, that'll stop, but we've still got more to go. But yeah, this is one of his, I mean, it was obviously up glacier back then. It's completely melted out, but just kind of neat to see that, that piece of history. I see that data point in the paper, and now I know where that wire was. Still wandering around out here, checking things out. Seeing that thermistor string from early 70s from Dennis, his studies. Made me think a lot about, I've been thinking since then about, when these guys started this project in 1957, that was the third International Polar Year, also known as the International Geophysical Year. That's when the U.S. Antarctic program really got into full gear. This was the Arctic contribution to that effort for the U.S. So these international polar years, like I said, they'd happened 2 times before. The idea was a pulse of activity around the world, coordinated activity, so we could sort of figure out what's going on in the polar regions. Because, back then there weren't satellites, all the things that we have now. So Dick Hubhley was the lead scientist of this project, him and Walter Wood, but Dick Hubhley was a UW PhD. From what I've read, one of at that time, sort of the leading guy on environmental glaciology, climate glacier interactions. 1957 was the early days of glaciology, right? I mean, the foundation papers of how glaciers move were just being written like right that year before. This is, I forget when the Journal of Glaciology came out, the International Glaciological Society, but it was also right around then. I don't know, I probably should know. Anyway, so they came out here, they picked this glacier. They're probably better. There are better glaciers they could have picked in terms of glaciology, but this met the bill for a glacier that's worthy of study. It's one of the bigger ones, but really it was sort of in the heart of the good climbing area, and these guys were all climbers. You had to be. That's Mount McCall right there. They would climb up to that for surveying, so they could look down over the whole glacier. That's the kind of guys these people were, right? They were climbers. All these peaks, you can find survey monuments from back then. They scrambled around. I got photos from Austin of these guys up there. It's like, oh my God. So anyway, so they would go on climbing trips. But it is a great glacier. Their camp was way up there. They also had a intermediate camp where we camp. It was 1957 was before the formation of the Arctic Refuge. Right, that happened in 1960. Olas, the man, a couple of his compadres, I think they did most of the legwork in DC, but Olas was the biologist that really said, hey, we got to set, this enormous area aside to let nature unfold and do its thing. And, we can't let man encroach into this into this area. Otherwise, it'll jam it all up. We won't be studying nature anymore. We'll be studying the impacts of man on nature. Assuming man is part of nature for the moment. It's quite a tragedy, but Dick Hubhley died here, right up there, 1957. I think it was October. They were wintering over. So these guys, they wasn't like this. I fly in, and even though I try and spend a week or two, and sometimes spend the summer, these guys were here for a year and a half. That was the plan, right? They come in spring and go through the winter and leave the next fall. But when Dick died, everyone bugged out, and they returned again in April. Start things up again and finish the season through the summer. And I've often wondered, if Dick hadn't died, let's say it was Olaus that died, right? What would this place have become? Right? Because this was the thing. I mean, yeah, okay, they came back. Austin Post was Dick's best friend and came back to kind of finish up the project, but there was nobody to lead the project at that point, right? So it just died. It didn't get picked up again until the late 60s. But had it gotten going like it was supposed to, like a permanent research station, I often wonder whether this place would be, instead of a fish and wildlife refuge, whether it would be a national park, right? Where the primary focus was glaciers. Instead, it's a wildlife refuge where the primary focus is gerbil. And that's all these things in the end. All of history comes down to the actions of individuals. And the individuals that acted at that time were biologists, not glaciologists. But I'll say it again, it's geology or geophysics that's driving everything here. It's plate tectonics that's the second highest mountain, U.S. Arctic. And it's there because of plate tectonics actually being high. These down from its slopes is there because of plate tectonics. The water that comes, feeds those rivers is there because the glaciers are there, because the mountains are there because of plate tectonics, and so on. So the refuge itself is really, it's all tectonically driven. That's what makes it so special and unique. So this project's been going on pre-refuge and was active quite a bit before the Wilderness Act, 1980. I went to a talk. I went to the 50th anniversary party, such as however you want to call it. Big to-do of the refuge, it's about 15 years ago, 50 years after 1980, I guess, or 1960. Jimmy Carter spoke there, and he talked about what it took to create the wilderness here and how the concession for the 10 Arteria is a great story. Share it another time, but yeah, this wilderness, everyone's got their own definition of wilderness. Of course, there's the congressional one, and we all respect that. So it espouses. Wilderness is a very personal thing, I think, for individuals. For some people, it's the caribou by the thousands, the rivers, or the climbing the mountains, or skiing, or hunting and fishing. I think for everyone, to some degree, the commonality is just the geography. There's not a McDonald's right there. There's not roads. You are isolated from the rest of the world. And I think that ultimately comes back to the individual again, about that feeling of solitude, or that feeling of being part of nature. I'm not saying like man versus nature. I mean, here man is part of nature in a sense, right? Because we don't get infected by all these messaging and buy this and do this and be afraid of that. I think to some degree everyone has that in common, that feeling. You can't not stand here and not feel some different type of connection to nature, and that this exists because that ability to feel that here exists because of the Wilderness Act and because of the refuge and the seriousness which the refuge managers take that responsibility. We get away with a lot here. I mean, there's nothing like this going on anywhere else in any wilderness in Alaska, as far as I know. Certainly not in the Arctic. Like I said, we predate Not that it legally matters, but predate all that. And the work here is, I mean, I'm biased, of course, but it's super important. It informs everything downstream here in terms of ecology and the, any kind of development we want to do. If we want to do that development responsibly, what happens here, right here where I'm standing, matters. The melt that's happening right beneath my feet right now matters. It has an influence, a strong influence on everything downstream. So, yeah, I mean, getting to that question of why am I here? It's all of that, right? I can't make it just one thing. Say this is what I'm doing here, but this is my wilderness experience. It's different than everyone else's. I'm unique in that way, just because I'm not. Everyone else is hunting and fishing, and I have the great opportunity here to do science here, and it checks all my boxes. I've spent the day just sort of in basic survival mode, but 2 days ago it was woohoo science, and it's always a challenge, and it's that I don't know how to say it, that personal experience. It's no different than skiing a peak or climbing or chasing down some big ram that you're going to shoot. Spent 3 days doing it. It's my version of a wilderness experience, and I realize it's not everyone's. But I think that wilderness experience, like, I'll give you an example. When I was flying in here, I'm circling kind of up there, looking down, and I'm thinking, maybe 22 years is enough. I really don't need to do this anymore. Maybe come back next year, some of the time with a helicopter or whatever. Yeah, really can't see the surface. I think I should just sell the plane, buy a condo on the beach, and go snorkeling the rest of my life. I circle a little bit more, and I know this place. Finally, I just kind of commit. Just pull the power back, put in the last bit of flaps, and then it's like all that's gone. Like, now I'm just flying. Now I'm a pilot. Now I know what to do. I'm just gonna land the plane like I know how to do. It's a tiny bit more challenging than some other places, but it's not that much more. It was fine. And then I'm on the ground like, woohoo! Time to do science. All the stuff I can do. I'm here. All those thoughts, all that anxiety is gone. And I think that's one of the things the refuge helps me with, is all fear and anxiety that we experience, that we would label fear and anxiety. All that's based in words, right? It's all ideas. It's all verbal. I'm not talking about getting startled by a snake or, getting startled by a lion. We use that. That kind of fear is a totally different type of fear. That type of fear is ingrained. It's reflexive. The type of fear where it drives us crazy and makes us nuts, or makes us immobilized, or makes us so insecure we'll follow anyone who offers the barest minimum of hope that we'll have more security, right? That's all based in words. We're bombarded with those words every day in society. I'm not even that well connected in my cabin, but I'm still bombarded. Everything is, be afraid of this, be afraid of that. And I'm fortunate, very fortunate. Most of the people, half the people in the country, our country, U.S., they can't afford an unexpected $500 auto bill or medical bill, right? Half the people in the country. Right? What kind of security is that? No wonder. It's completely reasonable to be insecure, feel insecure because, like that. But here's the chance where I can, I'm not bombarded by all that. And I can focus myself. I can focus that spotlight on these fears and anxieties and say, they're all bullshit. They're all bullshit. None of them make any sense. All of them keep you afraid. They get in your head. They figure out how to tickle your fear center, and they just keep tickling it until they get stronger and stronger, because the more they get fired, these neurons, the more they get fired, the more they get fed, the more efficient they become. They just keep attaching to your fear centers. But it's all bullshit. They don't know what they're doing. The ideas don't know what they are. They're like genes. They just replicate when they can. So, spotlight on them when you're not constantly bombarded with them. This makes no sense. and you can just let these things pass, and you can really, it sounds trite to hear these books and things, but you can focus on this moment. And that's what this place here and this science too is all about for me. It's just nonstop focus on this moment. Yeah, I'm thinking ahead, but that's because I'm planning in this moment. It's not a fear, it's not anxiety, it's just planning. I got to think, this project, I got to think a season or two ahead. Like, I can't, the stuff that I can see on the ground now, I can't get to that winter. It's under a feet of snow. Things like that if I'm going to site a new landing strip for summer. But it just all that dissolves away. And I'd have to think that for most people who really value wilderness, it's some component of that. And yeah, I mean, I'm here for a whole variety of reasons. I've mentioned a bunch, but whatever I can do to help protect this wilderness as a wilderness. I mean, that's the most valuable thing I think I could do, right? And that's ultimately what I think that's what makes us feel the best about ourselves. Back at camp, right? It's when we can it's not competing with each other, it's helping each other, right? It's not, we're so spun up with this anxiety of retirement, healthcare, and, your job and getting laid off, trying to provide this security, and it's all a false hope. I mean, if this worked, how did we get here? If it worked, if all that worrying worked, if all the people that are saying this for 30, 50 years, if that was true, how did we get so insecure now? Why is it getting worse and not better? It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all this, we spend our time competing with each other, not like directly, but everyone's making money perforce. I mean, we have to, right? To some degree, but we're not cooperating while we're making money. We're competing, right? And, somebody makes a better widget. Well, if that company gets the widget and the other company doesn't, then one's got an advantage. It's still competition, even if you're just selling the tools, not actually in the competition. What makes us feel good about ourselves and about our place in the world is doing something useful, putting our skills to their best use, our experience, developing those skills, getting better and better, improving on them for their own sake, right? Not to be better than the next guy, but for our own sake. Yeah, I mean, competition's healthy, I mean, the Olympics going on right now. It's fun to compete against, the next best person or the person that might be a little better than you. It helps you, it stimulates you to get better. But it's different than the way, society works right now. And so that's what it is for me. I can't think, if I could think of something better that was better use of my time, my skills, that would be something more valuable for others, that checked all the boxes, and there's no missing check boxes here for me. It does it all. So yeah, that's why I'm here. And a little bit better every trip. I've probably forgotten too much. I need to write down more, but a little bit better each time, getting a little bit more efficient, and managing this whole thing just on my own. It just checks all the boxes. So if I could only control the weather just a little bit, every once in a while, I just want to be clear and calm. But at least it's not raining. The wind's died down a little bit. But I suspect I can be here for a few more days, so better save my battery power. Let's see. Well, it's about 7:45. After the excitement of the morning, that wind trying to get the plane tied down. It's a pretty benign day. The wind died down after a while and started raining, so spent the day around camp, cleaned up the cache, enjoying the new headroom here, a new spot. And I took a couple walks, and tested out the anchors in the plane. They're frozen in now, so they're holding down the fort. Weather tomorrow is supposed to be rainy again, I guess. But day after, Turner says, is maybe a possibility to leave. If not, a couple days later, it's supposed to be really good. So just settling in for fiddle farting around, chilling time, enjoying the place, cogitating, trying not to cogitate, as the case may be. And yeah, glad to be here.